Beneath the bright neon lights and towering skyscrapers of Tokyo lies a creative world often overshadowed by Japan's booming mainstream manga industry, a realm where passionate artists push boundaries without the constraints of commercial success or mass appeal. This is Japan's underground manga scene, a parallel universe thriving in the margins. Unlike the polished, heavily marketed manga that dominate bookstores and magazines around the world, underground manga exists in small independent studios and doujinshi circles, tight-knit communities of creators who self-publish and distribute their work through informal networks. These artists often gather at niche conventions, obscure shops, or share their stories hand-to-hand, far from the global spotlight of major publishers. In urban Japan, particularly in Tokyo's sprawling neighborhoods, this alternative manga culture flourishes quietly yet defiantly. Artists involved in this scene are motivated by a deep creative freedom. They explore themes and styles rarely, if ever, touched by the commercial industry due to strict editorial standards and market demands. Freed from those restrictions, underground creators delve into provocative, experimental, and even taboo territories, reflecting complex social realities or personal visions that don't fit the mainstream mold. This has cultivated a rich tapestry of work, far from the often family-friendly, genre-defined boundaries that dominate Japan's manga market. The underground manga movement traces its roots back to the post-war era, but gained distinct momentum during the late 20th century when doujinshi culture began to flourish. Doujinshi, or self-published works, allow artists to build direct relationships with readers, bypassing traditional editors and distributors. These works are frequently produced with limited budgets and distributed in small print runs, emphasizing a grassroots connection over commercial ambition. Events such as Comiket, the world's largest doujinshi market, are critical hubs where underground artists showcase their creations. Here, thousands of creators and fans converge multiple times a year, exchanging fresh ideas and rare titles that often challenge mainstream narratives. Tokyo serves as a vital artery for this creative underground, offering both anonymity and opportunity. Many artists live in modest apartments or shared studios in districts like Koenji or Shimokitazawa, neighborhoods known for their vibrant subcultures and art scenes. Within these urban enclaves, creativity blooms despite limited resources. Young creators often juggle day jobs with night hours spent drawing, printing, and binding their manga by hand. This do-it-yourself ethos reflects more than economic necessity. It embodies a conscious rejection of the commercial manga industry's pressures and homogenization. Underground manga artists use their medium to explore themes ranging from radical political critiques, existential angst, and social alienation to intimate personal stories and avant-garde visual experimentation. This subversive approach frequently results in works that challenge readers' expectations, offering raw, unfiltered perspectives on Japanese society and culture. Such narratives contrast sharply with the polished productions from major publishers, whose content must often conform to broad demographic targeting and censorship regulations. In this way, Japan's underground manga scene preserves and cultivates a vital creative diversity. It acts as a counterbalance to mainstream manga's commercial imperatives, nurturing voices that might otherwise be silenced or marginalized. The roots of Japan's underground manga scene extend deeply into the cultural and political shifts of the 1970s and 1980s, a period marked by youth rebellion, political activism, and a growing appetite for self-expression beyond mainstream conventions. During these decades, Japan experienced significant social change. The post-war economic boom had settled into a complex blend of prosperity and disillusionment, while global countercultural movements resonated with young people eager to challenge traditional norms. It was within this environment that underground manga began to take shape as a form of resistance and a vehicle for uncensored storytelling. One of the key factors enabling this rise was the growing practice of self-publishing, or doujinshi, which empowered artists to bypass established publishers and editorial gatekeepers. This DIY approach reflected a deliberate break from mainstream constraints, allowing creators to explore topics that would have been considered taboo or commercially risky. Radical politics, erotica, experimental art styles, and explorations of identity found a home in these small print runs, which circulated through personal networks, specialty shops, and niche conventions. However, the underground scene faced significant legal and societal pressures. Japan's censorship laws have long imposed restrictions on explicit content, particularly sexual imagery, which deeply influenced how manga artists express themselves. While mainstream publishers practice self-censorship to comply with these regulations, underground creators often operated in a gray area, pushing boundaries but risking legal consequences. This tension shaped much of the content and dissemination strategies within the scene, with some artists adopting coded symbolism or abstract representation to evade direct censorship. Beyond legal hurdles, underground manga also bore the weight of social stigma. Works featuring politically provocative themes or explicit sexual content were often marginalized or dismissed as deviant, limiting opportunities for wider acceptance. Yet, this marginalization also fostered a tight-knit community among artists and fans who valued freedom of expression above commercial success or social approval. The 1980s saw significant growth in both the volume and variety of underground manga. The rise of iconic doujinshi markets, most notably Comiket, created vital spaces for creators to meet, trade, and collaborate. These gatherings not only sustained the movement, but helped generate a sense of identity and shared purpose among participants. Over time, these events attracted increasing numbers of fans and inspired newer generations of artists to experiment without fear of mainstream rejection. The advent of digital technology and the internet in the late 1990s and early 2000s transformed this landscape profoundly. Online platforms and forums enabled underground artists to reach audiences far beyond Tokyo or regional subcultures, breaking geographic and social barriers. Digital distribution reduced production costs and permitted anonymous or semi-anonymous sharing, further protecting creators from legal and social repercussions. This new accessibility also blurred the line between underground and commercial art, as some creators gained sudden visibility and commercial opportunities while maintaining their independent ethos. Today, underground manga's influence extends into the broader cultural fabric. Many mainstream artists credit the underground scene's experimental spirit for expanding creative possibilities within the industry. Japan's underground manga scene has left a profound and lasting imprint on both Japanese culture and the mainstream manga industry. Though often operating in the shadows, underground artists have pushed creative boundaries, challenging the conventions and limitations imposed by commercial publishers and censorship norms. Their willingness to explore controversial, complex, or taboo themes has opened new narrative possibilities that have gradually seeped into mainstream manga over the decades. Many mainstream creators acknowledge the underground scene's role in expanding genre and thematic scope. By experimenting with alternative storytelling techniques, unconventional visual styles, and nuanced character development, underground artists have inspired a broader acceptance of diverse voices and mature content in popular manga. For example, genres like psychological horror, queer narratives, and surrealist fantasy, once confined to niche circles, have increasingly found their way onto mainstream shelves, reflecting underground manga's long-term influence. This infusion has challenged the industry to grow beyond rigid demographic targeting and sanitized storytelling. Beyond artistic influence, underground manga has also contributed to shifts in how manga is produced and distributed. The doujinshi movement's do-it-yourself ethic has inspired established creators to engage more directly with their fan communities, often through social media and events, blurring the lines between creator and consumer. Self-publishing practices and alternative distribution channels have demonstrated the viability of smaller-scale, independent production outside traditional publishing frameworks, encouraging experimentation and diversity in the medium. However, the future of Japan's underground manga scene remains uncertain amid ongoing legal and technological challenges. Japanese obscenity laws continue to restrict explicit content, and enforcement remains inconsistent, creating a fragile environment for underground artists who often navigate legal gray zones. Potential tightening of regulations could further constrain creative freedom, though some argue that evolving judicial interpretations and societal attitudes may gradually allow greater latitude. At the same time, the rise of digital platforms presents a double-edged sword. Online spaces offer unprecedented opportunities for underground artists to reach global audiences without intermediaries, amplifying voices previously confined to local or subcultural circles. Despite this, platforms often impose their own content guidelines and monetization policies, which can suppress certain forms of expression or pressure creators to self-censor to maintain visibility and income. The tension between digital accessibility and digital gatekeeping raises important questions about the sustainability and openness of the underground manga scene in the internet age. Will these platforms serve as a new haven for radical creativity, or become another form of control that channels underground work into commercially acceptable forms? Ultimately, Japan's underground manga is vital as a space of creative freedom and diversity. It resists the homogenizing forces of the mainstream industry and offers perspectives that challenge dominant cultural narratives. Its continued appeal lies in its raw authenticity and refusal to conform, qualities that resonate deeply with audiences seeking stories beyond the familiar. Preserving this creative freedom requires vigilance from artists, fans, and cultural institutions alike. The underground scene's vitality speaks to a fundamental human desire for expression unbound by market limits or societal taboos.